Good evening, everyone. Here's an update on the 64 Impala project. You all know what happened here, but let's go take a look at it on the bench. Welcome back to the shop. Here we're at the bench with the axle assembly. If you already kind of had an understanding of what was going on here in previous videos, we've had a major problem with part failure. We've had another axle bearing failure here, and I'll explain what went on with the retailer here in just a brief moment. This is going to be a little bit segmented, as I'm not a professional at all in this whole YouTube thing. So anyways, I've set this up in multiple areas to check the run out of this axle. There isn't any. I've got 1/1000th of an inch run out on the flange, barely, not even a full thousandth run out on the flange, which is where your brake drum slides onto and ultimately your wheel. So there's no weeble wobble going on there. There's no weeble wobble going on in the middle of the axle. And there's no run out here either. There's less than half a thousandth of an inch run out here. It's too challenging for me. Bear with me. I'm going to do the handshake. It's just too challenging for me to do this with one hand. Okay, but anyways, I did wire this up. I have spun this around. I made sure everything was out of the way of the plunger of the dial indicator. Again, I'm not seeing any major run out here. I did find interesting things going on with the seal. And what's happening here is, how I'm noticing the bearing failure is the inside of the tire is just soaked in oil, and it's slung gear oil up into the quarter panel and all over the exhaust system, and it obviously smells like burning gear oil. So I found some interesting things here, but yeah, it was set up. I've spent the time, I've gone over this and checked it all out, and my conclusion is there's nothing wrong with the tolerances as far as the inner race is concerned where it's pressed on. But we got some interesting things going on with the seal. So I'm going to put you down for a minute here, and I'm going to reset this, and we'll carry on. Okay, I've got this axle set up again. What I wanted to do was I just needed to isolate the bearing from the vise itself. So I've got the retainer pinched into the vise so I can move the bearing freely. What I noticed upon closer inspection is there was oil getting past this internal lip seal. You can see this spring here. I mean, it's not easy to see, but you see the shiny bit where my fingernail is, and right up there, that's the seal itself. Watch the distance between the seal face and the bearing race as I spin the bearing. And yeah, just bear with me here. You'll see, you may see it or you may not see it. Okay, so that's the thick side of the bearing, or the seal. Watch as I spin it. That shiny area here between here and the lip itself will get narrower. That's about the narrowest spot there, and it begins to widen out again. Okay, I'll quickly explain what happens here. Now, I don't know if this is the case here, but I did take that spring, that tension spring off of the lip seal, and I confirmed what my belief is. So this is a mismanufactured seal. Everything's square as far as it being driven into the bearing itself. We'll call it the housing. It's seal's housing here. But there's a defect in the seal itself. And what's happening is as this gets thick and thin and thick and thin and thick, it's opening up a gap in between the sealing surface and the lip seal itself, that it's so weak that I can put very little pressure on. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I can put very little pressure on and push this right in there. Whereas if I go to the spot that it should be, the narrowest spot, I guess, which would be the widest spot on this lip seal, it's tougher. It's tougher to get this in. I can, but I have to really force it. Whereas back here, I know this is a terrible video, but back here, I can easily get this under. So what I'm assuming, I don't like assuming assumptions, well, you know all that means, is as the axle's turning, because this is stationary, but I would have had to, if I could have picked this up, I wish I had, if I would have marked it with a Sharpie pen, and put this side up so the oil was on the tighter side of that seal. You know what I mean? I don't know if you do or not. But anyways, that's where I'm at here. Okay, so I've got a potential weak spot here in the seal. So when it does that weeble wobble, when it goes in and out, in and out, in and out, what that does is it's like a pump, and the faster it goes, the worse it gets. But because the bearing's stationary, you don't get that effect. The outer race is held stationary, so that the seal stays stationary too. But if that's part of the seal is down in the oil, where the oil of the differential is, and that's what the seal is preventing oil from the differential from leaking past it, then there's no hope. The oil will just get past that thin spot like I showed you. I put that little pokey into it. There's no resistance, so the oil's getting past it that way, and it's thinning out the grease in here, and it's just pooping all that really thin grease here out through the face of this seal. Now I got to make this real quick here. The supplier that's supplying these understands what I'm dealing with here. They've watched other videos that I've done, and all they've said to me is just keep cutting them off, and we won't have a problem. Bring them back, and we'll just keep replacing it until you find a good one. I really don't like that. That's just like throwing a parts cannon at things where you know, oh, we'll just throw everything at it, make sure that everything's, all the bases are covered. Well, that's why I did all these measurements and stuff like that. I've done this. This is the 4th or 5th time, but that's what the people are saying that are selling the parts to me, and they're local to me, so we'll just keep going. It's a captive market. I'm kind of in a jam in that way. I want to do one more little trip with this thing, and if this bearing poops the bed, well, I'm going to be thinking about an alternative differential perhaps, or just park the car for a little while and get on with other projects that need to be done. It's been pretty busy here in the last couple of months, but that's what the answer is from the supplier. Just keep cutting them off as this happens. We trust you, that your judgment in this. I know it's insanity. The first 3 times I thought I was losing my mind, and I've run into another problem with another project where thought I was losing my mind, and again we're having parts failure, and I thought it was me. But anyways, that's what's going on here. Let me know if there's something you want shown or whatever, but there's not really much to see. Thank you for watching. I'm going to pound this all apart and press on the new bearing, and we'll get back at her, and maybe we'll get another video. Thank you very much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.